Sorry about that. We bit of a hiccup. We're just going to wait for Gareth to join us before we get started. You may see some equipment in the frame here. There's Wea's Scott Kelly from Wea's Dads. Hi, buddy. We are also going to be recording this into an audio podcast version as well. So we've got the video portion for tonight's Instagram Live, but we're also recording it live into audio. So. And we're just waiting for Gareth Knock to join in. There he is. All right, let's get him. Go. Just waiting for Gareth to join in, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
I'm doing really well. So, first order of business, which sorry to all of the listeners, but Gareth, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and we will both simultaneously press record, okay?
Yep.
So I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, record. 3, 2, 1, record. All right, we are recording now. As I just said to those that tuned in, this is, of course, our bi-weekly Instagram Live, and thank you so much for joining us. But in addition, we're also going to be recording. Don't do that. I can hear that. We're also going to be recording this as an audio podcast as well. So we will release specifics over the coming weeks, but the We-As Instagram Live Start Talking is going to be something new that we're adding into the stable. So enough said. Jimmy, how you doing tonight, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm ready. Got my new little setup down here in the new digs, ready to go.
Good. Well, by the way, whenever you touch your earpiece, there's like a huge pop, a huge crack, so just be careful. So this week, this subject, this is near and dear to my heart, and it's one of few things that I can honestly say I am completely useless at, and that is sleep. So I am often plagued by sleep deprivation, and we'll get into my reasons for that in a few minutes. But sleep is a real point of contention for a lot of people. Some people think you need 7, 8, 9 hours. Some people think you can go on 4 or 5 hours. What I'd love for you to do is start us off 25 years in health and nutrition and fitness. Start us off with some actual science. What is sleep? Why is it important to us? And what does it mean to us day to day?
Yeah,
Can I get closer to my camera?
just a little bit, like right up your nose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think first of all, the importance of sleep is huge. It's where we recover. It's kind of like I guess part of the building block or like the pillar of health, and it goes along with your diet and your exercise. So obviously, it's close to my heart with in regards to the world of health and fitness. Basically, a little bit of just kind of information, I guess, is you sleep in basically, I guess, stages and different types of sleep. So this is kind of key to the overall health components, I guess. Basically, you've got what most people have heard of, which is like a REM sleep. This is where this is kind of like the lighter sleep, if you like. This is where we dream. And then you have what's non-REM sleep, so like NREM sleep, which is where you do like the I guess you clear old memories and you create space for new stuff. So you can imagine it like a hard drive. All this information comes in during the day, and then when you're in your deep sleep or your NREM sleep, all that either gets put in like the trash can or it gets stored in your long-term memory, and it basically creates space. So the reason why it's so important obviously it's important to your health and your recovery and everything else, but it's important just to our mental as well, mental state, because if you're not emptying and downloading that stuff from your brain in your deep sleep, you've then got no capacity the next day. And I guess in regards to our physical component, it's the same. If you're not resting and recovering, you're going to wake up with an inability. You haven't got any new capacity for being physical. So it's going to affect things like your diet choices, your exercise choices, your movement choices, but also your mental capacity, right? You're like that foggy brain when you haven't slept too much, you've had a bad night's sleep, or maybe you've been out and you got to bed a bit later than normal. It's a foggy day the next day. It's because your brain is like full and it needs to be downloaded. So that's kind of my understanding of it. Other than that, I guess the main thing would be the links to like sleep deprivation and how sleep deprivation is massively impacts things like high blood pressure and a lot of people, cardiovascular disease. There's actually some research in a book I read, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, which suggests that a group of, I believe, like over 500 adults around the world were tested, and those that were sleep deprived showed a 45% increase in cardiovascular disease.
Fuck.
So in all the markers, yeah, that's big, right? And that's only 50% of people. So out of 500 people, nearly 250 people have got a 45% increase. So it's just huge. And like I said, it affects our moods, it affects our food choices. It's going to affect how we show up, like wanting to be the best version of yourself and turning up every day without any sleep. Like you're going to be suboptimal version of yourself. So I guess that kind of covers the a little bit of in detail and kind of stuff, the little information I do know and have learned. That's kind of some of the things that kind of ring true for me.
Well, I know that's also, and this is not just from a vanity standpoint, but if you are trying to alter your physique in the gym, and let's call a spade, if you're trying to grow some muscle, sleep is such a critical component to healthy muscular growth, because without it, your hormone levels are completely fucked, your test levels are down, your cortisol levels are high, you're not in a see, I didn't sleep last night, so I've got a foggy brain. You are not in a peak window for muscular growth. So there's so much evidence, and it's not anecdotal. There's so much evidence that supports how critical sleep is to all facets of our health. And maybe there's one that's even less tangible, because this is certainly one that exists in my house. And truth be told, it's one that exists in my parents' house, is if one person in a relationship has terrible sleep habits, it can be really disruptive to the other person as well. And so it can actually create fractures in relationships. And there's been many nights over the past 15 years where I've been relegated to the guest room because I'm tossing and turning and I can't sleep. Jen, who is a championship sleeper, basically says, "Get the fuck out of here. You're keeping me awake all night, so take a hike." So there's all of this irrefutable evidence, but yet why do I feel less like a man if I need a full night's sleep? Why is there this subculture of people that, go to bed at midnight and get up at 4 and run 1,000 fucking miles and bench press 9 million pounds and eat live animals while they're still running? Like, why is there such a connection to the ability to still perform under a limited window of sleep? It's like we're glamorizing not sleeping enough.
Yeah, it's like the modern day badge of honor, right? Like you can get by. So many people say things like, "Oh, I can get by on 4 hours, and I can still do everything. I can burn the candle at both ends and be successful." And you hear this a lot in professional world, right? On and off. And I've heard this from clients before. The fact of the matter is, it's bullshit. You can be successful, maybe, but you can only do that short term, and it's going to affect you long term. Plus, as you mentioned, it's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect the way you show up as a partner, as a parent, and affect, the version of you every day that wakes up. And our society has built this, sitting in front of video games and Netflix and on our cell phones. And I guess it might be going off track slightly, but a big thing for me here is the increase of blue light in our lives. So that's going to be your cell phones, your laptops, your TV screens, all those things. That is massively affecting our ability to sleep, because it's starting to, not only is it giving us like that dopamine dump because we're watching TV or watching a movie or on our phone looking on social media, or you're watching an Instagram live, you're on there and you're consuming this blue light, which is keeping you awake. So if you think about, years gone by when we lived by candlelight, or not even that, what happened was you woke up when the sun came up, you went to bed when the sun went down. So there was no artificial light. You might have had a candle, but that's not enough to stimulate your brain to the level like a cell phone does. So what's happening is people are living well outside of that window of the light and dark, getting up before sunrise, going to bed after sunset. And then not only that, but we obviously have the technology and we have all these things to feed us. So I think that's the biggest culprit in keeping us awake for longer beyond what we need. So that's a big part. But yeah, it's a badge of honor for a lot of people. And for sleeping for 4 hours or 3 hours a night, like you can't do that. And from the book that or the books I've read, the window does vary from person to person, and that you can have I guess you can have a window. So you might be okay with like the 6 hours, and or you might need 8, 9, 10 hours. But the recommendation is like the 7 to 8 window is like optimal. Anyone that's there's a very small percentage of people that may operate optimally at like the 5 or 6 hours, but it's such a tiny percentage of the population that can do that.
Yeah, it's and I love the example that you just gave about we at a very primitive level we are governed by the sun, and we've created all of this fake luminescence, not to mention all of the distractions. It feels to me, I remember as a younger man growing up, you used the perfect phrase, the badge of honor. I remember as a younger man growing up, a badge of honor was, well, I haven't cried since I was 15 years old. That was a thing that was the badge that men wore proudly, is I don't cry. If you cry, you're a pussy. And that has sort of gone away. I don't hear that anymore. In fact, now the badge of honor is men are starting to proclaim how willing they are to cry. Whether it's genuine or not is not for me to judge, but as a substitute for that badge of honor, and I keep using your phrase because it's perfect, is this sleep is, and I know there's a few people, and I won't mention names, but I know there's a few people that the We As community follow, and part of their brand, quite honestly, part of their brand is posting pictures of how little sleep they get. Now, you said something really important, because I believe it's true. There are people that might be able to function in a different window, in 5, 6 hours, 4, 5, 6 hours. But the problem is not dissimilar from vanity or body image issues, whether it's for men or for women. As social media propagates the optimal human being that can function at 5 hours of sleep, the rest of us that need a full 7, 8, 9, we're going to try and emulate those really unhealthy habits. And as a result, you're going to have a large portion of the population. And yeah, yes, Peter, it does. Sorry, for the audio, for those that are going to be tuning in only to the audio portion, and shame on you, because the Instagram Live's a lot of fun. Peter Chase, shout out Peter, just says, does crying myself to sleep, I can't even read it. Does crying myself to sleep count? Well, that's 2 points. If you cry yourself to sleep, then that's a win. That's maybe the most masculine thing you could possibly do, is to cry yourself to sleep with no technology at 9:30 at night.
And
but
as we're just, I was just going to say, as we're stating comments, we'll just follow up on Scott's comment there. Am I sitting in a wingback chair? Yes, I am. This is my regal wingback chair in my new little podcast setup here. So very happy with it.
Yeah. Well, next we're going to get him a red velvet robe and a pipe. So, how do we? I guess I want to try and understand. And there's the whole demon side to sleep, which I'll get into a little bit later. But how would one begin to understand what window of sleep that they're in? Like, I can function fairly well at 4 or 5, but I know people, my wife is one, needs a hard 8, 9. Oh, yeah. How does Scott Kelly not type something to that? My wife needs a hard 8, 9. Anyhow, how do you figure out what we're not going to pull out of this? Oh no, I keep going. Oh, okay.
Oh, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it sure does. So how do we begin to understand what sleep model we need? I'm going to stop talking.
I think that's a hard one and probably a bit out of my pay grade. But what I will say is I think you have to pay attention to things like sleep signals. So, making sure that if you know approximately, you're feeling tired around, let's say the 10 p.m. mark, maybe before, and this is advice I always give on sleep, is maybe an hour prior to that. If you're thinking 10 o'clock's like my time, or maybe for you, I know you're a little bit more of a night owl. So maybe yours is 11, 12. An hour prior, start to like turn your blue light off or wear blue light blocking glasses, start to do things that are going to help calm your nervous system down so you can be aware of your sleep signals. So when you feel tired, you're not blocking that tiredness with either watching TV, on your cell phone, eating, whatever it is that stimulates you, because then you're naturally going to get into that cycle. I'm a big fan of 30 minutes maybe prior to bedtime is kind of, finding something calmer to do and having things turned off and then going through that bedtime process and then maybe just reading a book with like a really dim light. So then I'm paying attention, my body starts to feel tired, and then I'm going to go into that natural sleep cycle. I also think, and again, I'm just wildly pulling things out right now and don't say there's any science to back this up, but also pay attention to how you wake up. Like, are you having to be stimulated by an alarm to wake up? And if that's the case, do you need to bring your sleep a little bit further back, starting a bit earlier and allowing your body to naturally wake up? Like for me, I know if I'm in bed and asleep around 10 o'clock, even without an alarm, and I've learned this over the last few months when we've all been quarantined, is I just wake up about 5. Sometimes it's 10 past, sometimes it's 4:30, sometimes it's 5:30, but it's around 5 o'clock. And I'm always kind of coming out of my sleep cycle at that point. So I know for me, like 7 is like a real sweet spot. 7, maybe 7 hours, 15 is a real sweet spot, but it's taken me years to kind of get comfortable with that. So I think that's a key kind of takeaway, right? If you're constantly waking up groggy at 6 a.m. and you need 3 alarm clocks, start fucking going to bed earlier. Because then you're going to find that's going to happen. And obviously the quality of your sleep is going to affect that. But if you can get in a cycle and you can get up the same time, and I always do this too, like at the weekends, people say, what do you do on Saturday at 5 a.m.? I'm like, whatever I need to do, I'm up, because I'm up the same time every day and I like the cycle to be the same. So I think that's a great tip. But side note as well, this is something else I picked up from the Why We Sleep book, is that there is about 30% of the world population that operate on a slightly later, if you like I just said, use the word night owl. Their circadian rhythm is set slightly later naturally, like it's built like DNA or whatever it is. And I think that's for you, Carl, someone like you, is that right? You generally operate better at nighttime. I know my wife Nikki's the same, like she operates better at nighttime as well. And 30% of the population are on that side of the scale. That being said, society is very morning driven. Like think about what time we start work, think about the time school starts, right? Just those things alone, they're all, you've got to be up at 7 a.m. to get your kids ready to get to school. You've got to be at work and in the office at 8:30. Now, for someone that naturally doesn't really want to come to life before 10 a.m., basically you're screwed. And teenagers will definitely fall into that bracket a lot, like their circadian rhythm adjusts, as they grow and as they go through, adolescence. So it's kind of cruel to force people to get up early in the morning, especially your teenagers. So, and that's 30% of the population. Like that's a few
Yeah.
billion people. So,
It, ironically, though, while all of our sociological obligations tend to be morning and during daylight hours, and it's all of our extracurricular fun stuff that happens at night. So the human condition is, over time, what are you going to prioritize? So I want to have, and I'm not speaking for me generally, but I would say most people would say, I want to have fun. I want to explore my hobbies. I want to spend time with friends and family. I want to binge watch a show that I've fallen in love with, or I want to have one more drink on my deck, because you know what? In Canada, we get 3 months a year where you can sit on your fucking deck. So our sleep very quickly becomes deprioritized. And ergo, our sociological, I don't know why my phone keeps going to sleep. Am I going dim, or do I still
nope,
look okay?
still
Um,
look wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. I got the full get up. And these are blue light glasses. That's why I wear them at night. I also can't see without them, but contact lenses don't provide the same blue light. Um, but our sociological obligations, because we don't want to, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, because we don't want to sacrifice our extracurricular activities, we're getting less sleep, we're staying up later, but life still happens. So you still got to get up and get the kids soon to school and go to your job soon. But that's the first thing to suffer, is because then you're going to work with that foggy brain. Then you're showing up as a parent with that foggy brain. Then you're showing up as a friend with that foggy brain. I don't know too many people that are willing to sacrifice their fun, their extracurricular, for more sleep. And maybe that's systemic of much larger issues in our society. I know there's a few countries around the world that have a 3-day weekend. So maybe we just need to have a bigger balance of, fuck the 80-hour work weeks. Have
Oh,
more fun.
yeah, 100%. And I think a lot can be said for, being aware, right? Like whether you're running your own business or whether you have a job. And I get it, like it's not always a controllable thing. But what is controllable is the choices you make, right? And choosing your lifestyle and your well-being and your family over possibly another zero on your paycheck. That's key. Like, I think that is a bigger conversation, maybe a little off track for the sleep conversation we're having. But when we're working 12-hour days, you've got no chance of getting decent sleep by the time you've done everything that needs to be done. I'm massively grateful that I have a job where I can manage my hours. Yeah, I have long days sometimes, but for the most part, like, my employer is very sensitive to that, as I am, and ensuring that I don't get too overworked and that I have plenty of time to enjoy those things, right? Because managing your wellness is just as important as, like I said, another zero on your paycheck. And putting that first, like you said, ends us up in that position where we kind of almost, I hate to say we lose our choice, because I don't believe that's true, but we lose that ability to manage our lifestyle effectively.
You know, you and I have talked a lot over the years about what happens to me when I put my head on my pillow. And I mean, I don't need to reiterate the entire narrative, but the short version is that's when my demons come out to play. And all of the things that I think about at night are usually all of the things that scare me the most. So even though I've turned off technology, even though there's no blue light, even though I like to sleep and wake to the light of the sun and the moon, but with even though all of those things notwithstanding, sleep is a really, really awful experience for me, and it's usually a fight, and only through attrition does sleep always win, and sometimes it wins 2 or 3 hours, and sometimes it wins 7 or 8 hours. But I need to find a mechanism so that I can have those conversations with myself during the daylight in a controlled environment when I say it's appropriate, versus when I put my head down on my pillow and it's an uncontrolled environment that I have no say in. It just happens. These brutal, wicked conversations just happen when the world is quiet and everyone is asleep. That's when my demons wake up. In a roundabout sort of way, there's some backstory. How do you manage, because I'm sure I'm not alone, I'm not the only one. How do you manage those dark, private conversations when putting your head on the pillow is the perfect opportunity to do that with yourself?
Well, no easy questions here on We Gotta Start Talking Live. So a couple of things. I think we could all work harder on our inner peace, and that might sound a bit fluffy, but we have to find our inner peace. And it makes me think about a conversation we had a few months ago about, and we spoke about it on an IG live too, is controlling what you can control. And we actually kind of rephrased that as influencing what you can influence. And within that conversation that we had offline, we spoke about, what do we really, truly, what really can we control? What do we have control over? And I think my jaw-dropping response to you was not really anything. The only thing we truly know is that we're born and then we die. Um, and I think that's where we can go to for our inner peace. And that might sound a bit morbid, but you don't really know anything else. You know that you're born, and as it stands current day, you're going to die unless someone figures out a way for that not to happen. So you can't really control it. So sitting up at night, worrying about things that you really can't really influence or control. And there are things, don't get me wrong, but really you just don't know. And maybe you just have to go to bed and find that inner peace by being grateful that you made it through another amazing day in your life. And the same goes when you wake up in the morning. I'm waking up and there's another day ahead of me, because plenty of people go to sleep and never wake up. So, and that's something that I've battled with.
Fucking jackass. Thanks for reminding me of that little gem of euphoria. Plenty of people go to sleep and never wake up. Oh yeah, guess who's taking that pearl of wisdom to bed with him tonight? You're supposed to be helping me. You know, I sleep with a baseball bat under my pillow. I'm gonna put now we're gonna put brass knuckles under there. Jesus, Gareth.
Well, you asked. So, but here's the thing: is I think we're all going to have those conversations at some point. We have to, like I said, we have to understand that there are minimal things that we can influence. We can influence how we show up every day. We can influence, our growth and our development, and embracing this. I heard this in a book I've been listening to recently, actually, and it's all about embracing uncertainty. And basically, the message really is, if you can't embrace uncertainty, then you're going to have a shitty time. So I think that's part of that. I think you have to go to bed and you have to find ways to embrace that uncertainty and say, tomorrow's another day, but I don't know what it's going to bring, and I can't control that by sitting here worrying about it. What I can control is trying finding ways to, switch.
Sorry. Peter Chase just dropping the one-liners. So this just popped up in our video feed. And again, I do apologize to the audio listeners, but this is worth it. Peter Chase, and I quote, Gareth should be writing children's bedtime books.
Oh dear.
Dear
You like
Stuart,
that? I like the one.
Dear Stuart, once upon a time, a little boy went to sleep and he died.
The end.
God.
Oh dear. I don't know what I was saying now, but that was way better content than what I was mumbling on about.
Was. But I do know what I was going to say is, you were talking about, and look, you always give amazing responses, but they are often theoretical to a much more macro audience. I am asking you, my friend, my brother, host of We As Difference Makers and host of We As Start Talking Live. 2 plugs. Thank you very much. Sorry, you still there? I am asking you, where do your demons go? How do you manage? Because I know you've got them. How do you manage your demons if not on the pillow late at night? What's your outlet?
Jeez. What's my outlet? My outlet is number one, exactly. And this is a new kind of phrasing around the embracing uncertainty, but that's kind of...
Sorry, I'm just finding a charger for my phone. Keep talking.
Cool. So embracing the uncertainty of life is a big part of it for me, and knowing that, I can't necessarily control those things. And, I know you hate this quote, but, being in the moment and being present in my life, during the day. So the hours I am awake, I like to be up early in the morning, and, maybe that's when I deal with my stuff, early in the morning when I hit the gym or I go for a walk and I'm up and the world's asleep, and not the whole world, but how it is to the daytime, like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., like to me, the world's asleep at that time. And, there are other people in the gym and there are other people out walking, but that's when I deal with a lot of my stuff, I think. Yeah. And I think for me, I say 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., I'm awake, I'm active, I can show up as the best version of myself, and I deal with my shit then. And by owning my choices and owning my responsibilities and trying to be the best version of myself, the better I do that, the easier it is for me to go to bed and say, I did a great job today of my life and I owned it. And you know what? I can probably even evolve beyond that tomorrow when I wake up. It's another day. And the more I've been able to do that in my life, the better relationship I have with my sleep.
So if I extrapolate everything that you just said, and regardless of how shitty I feel right now, thanks again, um, basically just called me out and said I am not the best version of myself. No, I'm being very playful. But what I'm taking from that is if you have relative influence, and you use the word control, but we've corrected each other in the past, if you have relative influence throughout your day, and if you feel that the choices that you are making throughout your day are choices that align with being the best version of yourself, it's unlikely that, and I'm using the word demons, and sorry if I'm being, if I'm being blasphemous, but any demons that you may possess, they're squashed because they don't have cause to rear their ugly head at nighttime, because you can go to sleep with some peace that you've done all you could do. And if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. If it's gonna be, if you're gonna be in some sort of catastrophe, it's going to happen. You've done everything you can do. Is that effectively what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great kind of summary of it. It's I think I use the word ownership. It's ownership over your life. Like if we lie down, and we all have these days, right? Like I do it too. You lie down and you have all those things. You think, oh, I yelled at my kids today, and maybe I didn't show up very well at work. I didn't, whatever. I didn't eat very well. I didn't go to the gym. Blah 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 blah. Any of those things can be going through your head, and we're all going to have those days. Like no one's perfect. Like I'm sitting here giving what I do. You might think that I sleep soundly every fucking day, and I don't. But what I want to try and do is take those things, all those facets of my life that are important. And I talked about this on a live a while ago, and I recorded an episode about your personal ecosystem and all those things that are contained within it. I have to make sure that, let's say there's 8 things in your ecosystem that, your life revolves around. Is let's try and tick off 6 or 7 of those and be your best version of you in those moments, in all those things, as a parent, as a partner, as a employee, as a whatever it is, a business owner. If you're ticking off most of those boxes and you're showing up as best you can, you might get the odd thing. Yeah, sure. Maybe you do all those things, but you yell at your kids one night because, you've had enough and they've got on your nerves. Is that one thing you can deal with? And you can say to yourself, hey, tomorrow's another day and I can influence it again tomorrow. So I think if we're ticking off most of the boxes, I think there's a lot less. If we're ticking off none of the boxes, then you're going to have a rough time falling asleep.
Yep. And this is how, I'm not suggesting that you and I have the answers. In fact, I'm hoping we have none of the answers. In fact, I'm hoping that we have more questions than answers. But what's coming up for me is I'm having this deep and profound connection to a simple equation. Sleep echoes your day. Sleep is a mirror. And okay, everyone, no matter, whether you're like my wife and you like a hard 8, 9, no matter how good you are at going to sleep and your quality of sleep, you're going to have shitty days. You're going to have shitty nights where you can't get a good night's sleep. But for somebody where it's chronic, somebody like me and billions of other people where sleep is chronic, bad sleep is chronic, maybe the beginning point in understanding why you sleep so shitty is that sleep just sort of sleep's just a mirror for how you feel about yourself, the world, your influence within yourself, within your world. It's like forced meditation. And oftentimes people that meditate constructively, they don't always like what they see. So I'm going to start to understand the process of going to sleep much differently, because what it probably means, if I'm really struggling to fall asleep, it probably means I need to get up, start doing some journaling, start to understand, much like I would track my macros in a food log, start to understand, is there a correlation between, you know, I raised my voice at one of my kids. Oh, and that night I slept like shit. Well, clearly it was on my mind. Or I didn't close a deal at work, so and I slept like shit. So start to understand if there's a pattern between what you are influencing throughout your day, and then when you look in that mirror, that sleep mirror, trademark. When you look in that sleep mirror, what's your equation? If you've not influenced enough positivity throughout your day, you're probably going to have a shitty sleep. If, like Gareth, you've checked many of the boxes and your day starts at 5 a.m. by choice and motivation and discipline, and everything that you do, not everything, but most of the things that you do throughout the day are ones that align with positive, constructive influence, well, that's probably one of the reasons why you can fucking go to bed at 9:40 at night and sleep like an angel till 5 in the morning. Because you've got peace in your heart, right?
And I think so a couple of things I was thinking about. Number one, I think things are going to go wrong, and we have to think about, bulletproofing our mindset and, that visualization. And, we spoke about this many times. I talk about it all the time on my podcast. Is, you have to bulletproof your mindset. And sometimes you have to start your day with like, hey, this is a fresh new day. I'm grateful that I'm here and I'm going to, be the best version I can possibly be. And in that is you have to say to yourself, hey, you know what? Some shit's going to go wrong. You might drop your cup of coffee. You might, someone might run a red light and hit you, and someone might, your kid might fall over and, break their arm or whatever. Like, things are going to happen to you and people around you. What you have to do is bulletproof your mindset to say those things are going to happen, but that's life. Like we said, you can't influence everything. So I think bulletproofing your mindset means that you can approach everything in a good pattern, but also when you are making these mistakes, journaling, you brought up journaling, great point. And this every night before I go to bed, like 9:30, I'll sit there and I'll just write down. And it's very simple. I keep it very brief because I can get down the rabbit hole and then I'm there for an hour writing stuff down. So for me, it's just a short, what am I grateful for? And a lot of you have heard this already, and a lot of the podcast listeners would have heard this too, is what am I grateful for? So that's like my G. And then I have a B, which is like a brag. What did I do really, really well today? Where did I show up great? What did I do that was, even if it's just silly, small things that, I thought that I did well or somewhere I showed up well. And then I also have an E for evolving. What am I going to do to evolve? So you're already setting your mindset. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this 1% better tomorrow. And that's going to help me be the best possible version of myself. This is what I'm grateful for. This is what I did really, really well. That helps you just it's starting that like downloading I was talking about with the sleep. You're downloading that first bit of information, and then you're sleeping, you're downloading more information. So I think that's the way to kind of get over that hurdle. And then the other thing I was going to say.
Sorry, Gareth, you need a much better acronym. GBE doesn't do anything for us. So can you come up with a better journaling acronym, please?
Shocker. Just keep your eyes peeled. Maybe we're going to work on that and create a little we as journal. But yeah, you are the story you tell yourself.
Maybe we might already have a draft or two in the works. I don't know. I know I have a file in my PC that's, anyways, there's some cool things coming down the pipe, custom made. We as leather bound journals, comes with its own quill and ink.
Inkwell.
We're going old school. Yeah, inkwell. Thank you. And candle, comes with a candle. Fuck the blue light.
So just a couple of things I want to get in, because I'm just being aware of time. Scott made a great point. Yes, you are the story you tell yourself. So a lot of that. What came up for me was there's going to be situations where all these things are happening in your life. You're not the best version of yourself, and some people just aren't aware of that. And you probably think, how's a shitty person that goes about their life, suboptimally and isn't the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like. And we spoke about, those types of things that happen in life and those types of people, and they're not going to be aware, and they're going to sleep like babies. You might think to yourself, how can you be a shitty person and sleep well? It's because people aren't aware. So what I came up with is you need to be aware. And when you're aware, sometimes in your situation and many others, is you don't sleep because you're so aware of these things. But here's the thing, it needs to be awareness over perfection. So you're not sitting down at night saying, oh, well, I didn't do this at 100%. I did it at 92%. So what happens is you're aware, which is a great thing, but you need to be aware that you don't have to be perfect. You're not trying to get perfect. You need to embrace the journey that you're on. And embracing the journey means that exactly that. It's not about perfection. It's just about showing up tomorrow. And again, just being the best version you can be. And that version isn't always 100%. Maybe it's 95%. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that's a bit better than my other acronym is awareness over perfection.
Um, that's gonna take some work for me, and I think part of for me my what keeps me up at night is less to do with perfection because I realize that much like the concept of control, perfection is unattainable. For me, my awareness and my emotional connectivity to the world around me and the people in it, that's what creates a brutally heightened sense of imperfection, both in myself and others. And those are my demons. That's what keeps me up at night is the contemplation of my imperfections. How can I be better? Sort of anecdotal observations about other people's imperfections, the world's imperfections. So for me, it's not awareness over perfection. For me, it's more to do with how do I how do I how do I sort of become at peace with flaw? How do I become at peace with fractures and things that are broken? And not everything needs to be fucking fixed. Not everything can be fixed. Not everything should be fixed. So for me, it's not trying to solve all the world's problems in the Gareth. I mean, there's nights, and Jen will attest to this. There's nights, I'm talking 4 hours, 4 hours tossing and turning, 4 hours it takes me to go to sleep. So even on days when I have all the best intentions and I feel like I've influenced, I've checked as many boxes as I can, when I put my head on the pillow and I make a responsible choice and I go to bed at 10:30. It's still 2:30 in the morning and I'm looking at the fucking clock, tossing and turning, because I haven't figured it out yet. And I get close. I get so close to figuring it out, whatever it is, and then damn it, I fall asleep.
Well, that's probably a good thing. Um, kind of that's probably where we're all at. We're probably close to figuring it out and then fall asleep. I would agree. What I will refute though is that the problems are the things that are running through your brain. I would hazard a guess are very macro, and this is important. And yes, you can change the world, and yes, you can. We can all influence that. But as you attest to, and as you talk to on your podcast, and I talk about it all the time, see the intro for my podcast. It is, if you want to make a difference, it starts with you. You need to make a difference to yourself. So in that same breath, you need to go to bed and put your head on the pillow and know that you've done everything to be the best version of you. Because when you're the best version of yourself, you're going to influence those around you. Hashtag be the pebble. You can't be the boulder. You just have to do the best job you can do about it, tick all those boxes so you know you showed up as the best version of yourself. That should give you inner peace, or I hope that it gives you inner peace, knowing that that's the pebble effect. All the people you influenced in your day, all the decisions you made to be the best version of yourself influence other people, and that will change the world. Just like this IG Live will change the world, just like our podcast will change the world. Just drop
Amen,
my
brother.
microphone there.
And yeah, fuck off. And I want to read. We just got another comment, and I don't know who this guy is. Peter Chase. There was a guy on here earlier who was dropping some mad one-liner bombs, but now there's a new guy, Peter Chase, I think is his name. Anyways, no, he read something or he typed something really important. The same mind that creates the problem can't necessarily be the same mind that can fix it. And that, folks, is why we surround ourselves. So unknowingly, Peter preemptively wrote a comment that Gareth that just, Jesus Christ, somebody needs to have some sleep. Gareth just affirmed is all you can do is be the best version of you. All you can do is be the pebble. All you can do is influence as much as you can throughout the day. Go to fucking sleep. The world will be waiting for you tomorrow morning. And brother, the problems aren't going anywhere. There'll be a whole new, guess what? There'll be a whole new set of problems for you to try and solve. And I'm talking to myself, but I'm also talking to whoever's listening at this point. And beyond that, all you can do, Peter, well said, buddy. And geez, we really should put this on a t-shirt. All you can do is surround yourself with people that can also be the pebble, people that can give you some peace of mind that when you put your head down on your pillow at night, there are others out there that are also trying to solve the problems of humanity and the problems on an existential level, that you're not alone. And Gareth, you're absolutely fucking right. And I know that we're on an IG Live, and I know that we're recording this. This is a brand new thing for us, everyone. There's been some late tuner inners. Is that a word? No? So there's been latecomers tuning in, but we're also recording this for an audio podcast release as well. So we're going to start doing this a couple times a month. But you're absolutely right, Gareth. And I think I've finally, for the first time in 40 years, identified, even though I talk a big game about be the pebble, what keeps me up at night is I feel I need to be the boulder. I need to be the fucking mountain, not even the boulder. I need to be the mountain. And some real solidarity, a real sense of solidarity has come from this IG Live tonight. Much of what you've said, and very well articulated with what Peter just said, surround yourself, be the pebble. I'm not alone. I don't have to be, and I'm talking to myself right now, I don't have to be the mountain. And anybody that's out there, whether you're watching this on our live feed or whether you're going to tune in to our Instagram live TV page on weas_start talking, or whether you're going to hear this podcast in 70 countries around the world, you're not alone. You're not the only one struggling to make a difference. You're not the only one trying to fix it. We are all with you, brothers and sisters. We are. We are all together. And if we can come together and create some sort of solidarity through a uniform expression of start talking, maybe then at the very least we all get a better fucking night's sleep.
100%. You know what? I'm going to just wrap this up by saying if we all wake up every day and go to sleep every day, if we all wake up and do the best job we can of being the pebble in every facet of our life, together we will all create the effect of a boulder, and that will change the world.
Yes. And you know what, brother? If I woke up every day, and this is happening slowly but surely, but if I woke up, and I'm sure there's billions of people around the world, I'm not reading it because I'll start laughing. If I woke up every day and if I felt like more people were trying to be the pebble, I think I would feel better. And that's why it's so important that we all start talking, because only through talking do we get to understand that so many of us are fucking making an effort. This got a little weird and preachy, but for me, there's a huge connectivity to what we're talking about and my sleep. So
100%.
Anyways, enough said.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way,
I noticed I was the only one having we got to work out our timing on who's drinking wine on what IG Live.
Yeah, that might be a whole moving house problem. I don't have any red wine in my house, so poor show, Mr. Knock. I will do better next time. Poor show. I will have more red wine in my house, but I drunk it all and then I moved house and then there isn't any. And you know what? Shit got in the way and I forgot to go to the liquor store. So next week.
And just so you know, I cannot wait. Gareth and his wife and daughter just moved recently, and they moved even closer to the town that I live in, which I'm super fucking excited about. Cannot wait to come and give you a proper housewarming and to share some wine and some great conversation. And I love you, brother, and I'm so grateful for you always contributing so much wisdom and so much insight. You've changed my life, and I'm sure you've changed the lives of millions of people around the world. And these IG Lives are important, man. They're important.
Yeah. 100%. And thank you for your words. I appreciate it. I love you too. And I think we wrap it up there.
All right. So I guess that's it for this week's We As Start Talking Live. As previously mentioned, this will air on, and we don't know when, but this will air on one of our podcast platforms. Please remember, if you can, try and subscribe and consider listening to our other shows. We As Dads, hosted by Scott. We As Women, hosted by Robin and Kathy. Of course, We As Difference Makers, hosted by Gareth, and We As Men, hosted by, I don't know, some clown named Carl. That's it for this week. I'm going to do this, buddy. Love and peace to everyone. Out for now. And Gareth, in 3, 2, 1, press stop on your recording. 3, 2, 1, stop. All right. See you, buddy. Be well.